From the rolling hills of Lanarkshire, Scotland, an area once known as Clydesdale, came a breed of horse developed in the 1700s that became pivotal in the commerce of Scotland and northern England. Far from the coal fields of Lanarkshire and the city streets of Glasgow, the Clydesdale makes its home in the gently rolling hills of South Texas, where the best characteristics of this breed are both preserved and perpetuated. Welcome to 2S Clydesdales.
I'm Pat McMahon, and this is 2S Clydesdales, part of 2S Ranch, which originally was a cattle ranch, and we've had it for 26 years and just had the Clydesdales since '97. So 2S is from two sons. We bought our first cattle from the 4G Ranch, which stood for 4 grandchildren. And it's hard to register a brand in Texas, and so we did 2S for our 2 sons. We're in Schulenburg, Texas, and the horses are completely separate from the cattle ranch. My husband does the cattle and I do the horses. We have about 60 of them now. We're a breeding farm. Our primary thing is breeding. We have really, we think, superior genetics, and so we're trying to capitalize on that and keep those strains pure. I started off with just 2 that were given to me for a gift, and then we went to the national show, and now we have all these horses. So hopefully to help upgrade other people's herds, and as well as keep our show string going and our breeding program. We're starting an AI program this year. We've got 3 major stallions that we use, all different colors, all different body types that we niche with our mares, and of course watch what those babies produce, or what kind of babies those mares produce. And so that's our thrust.
My name is Keith Mann, and I'm the horse manager at 2S Clydesdales in Schulenburg, Texas. Preparing a horse for the harness in a show situation, you braid a mane, which is 2 pieces of cloth that you braid through the mane hair, and you go down so it stops right in front of the harness, and then you braid that off, and then the tail we use sprigs, which is those 2 pieces of straw like that goes up the tail this way, and we don't use artificial. We braid those into the horse's tail, and then we put the rest of the horse's tail into a bun. We call it a bun, and basically the purpose for that is a draft horse is known for their big and overall size, and it just makes their hind quarter look that much bigger when that hair is all wrapped up in a bun. Then after we get all the harness on, then we put the mane flowers in the mane rolls, and that fastens them down and just kind of dresses them up, and all the horses will have the same colors on and the exact same pattern, so it looks uniform. Oh, and up to an 8-horse hitch, you do the same thing. We have a team harness that's made by the Shanahan Harness Company, and they're a harness maker in the state of Ohio. They probably make 80% of the show harness used in the draft horse industry. It is very top quality. Everything is handcrafted by them people, and it's very, very nice harness. Our team harness that we use for a team of mares, basically we start off harnessing, putting the collar on the mare, and the collar goes over their head, and basically that is you use that as the pulling force. It fits on their shoulder, and when you have a good draft horse, the slope of the shoulder is very important, because that's where the pulling power of the draft horse comes from. So it is very important for that collar to fit properly around the horse's neck. There's got to be the right amount of play so the horse don't get sore shoulders. It's a very important part of the harness. Then the tugs fit onto the harness and go back to the wagon and fasten to the double trees. And that is actually the forward motion of the wagon. Then after we put the collar on, we put the belly band and the breechin on. And the breechin that goes around the fanny is actually the brakes and the reverse gear in a set of harness. Then we go ahead and put the bridle and the lines on to the harness. Then we're ready and prepared to hook that horse up to the wagon. Hooking a horse up to the wagon is a very important thing to do it properly for safety measures. If you hook up the tugs first and don't hook up the tongue, then you could have a very serious accident. So there's a proper way to do that. So after we get the horses all harnessed up, we attach them to the wagon. The wagon that we use, that you see here, is a stake wagon. You know, the Budweiser has the great big rails, and that is mainly for the bigger hitches. We use the stake wagon because we harness mares, and it's a little softer, a little lighter, and a little more feminine because we hook the female horses. But the wagon was built in North Carolina. It's a beautiful, beautiful wagon, and we really enjoy our harness wagon. Other than the stakes in the back, it's pretty much built the way any of your fifth wheel wagons are built, like the Budweiser hitch. And there is a fifth wheel underneath. The front wheels will turn clear around underneath it so you can fan a horse to the right or left. This mare here that Pat's Holden's name is Isabel. She's one of our leading brood mares. She's produced a young mare that's won national champion twice, and we have two of her offspring, her last offspring, here beside her. Down on the other end there is a yearling stud colt, and on this side here is her yearling, or her weanling filly from this year. Isabel is 12 years old, and pretty much has a baby every year for us. She's just she's never been a show horse, but everything she's ever produced always ends up in the show ring. She's just one of those mares that produces better than she is, which is exactly what anyone in any breed would want in a brood mare, to produce something better than she is. Her stud colt down here, we showed him last year, all year long, and a couple features about him that stand out is the tremendous hair he has. If you zero in on his front legs at the bottom at that feather, you see it hanging on the ground, both front and back, and that's quite a nice thing for a Clydesdale to have. He does have a little bit of a Roman nose. About all of her offspring ends up with a little bit of a Roman nose. Last year at the Toronto Winter Royal, this colt was it was Grand Champion foal. They have 4 divisions in the foal department at the Royal. They have a junior and a senior, and then a Grand Champion filly foal and a Grand Champion stallion foal. And this is McTaggart, and he was the overall champion last year at the Toronto Winter Royal as a weanling. He'll be going out this year. He'll show at the national show in about 3 weeks from now, the first weekend in August. And one of his other features is his hocks. His hind hocks are very, very correct. Nice flat bone in front. He's got a decent sized cannon bone on him. Right now he's going through a growth spurt. He's a little up in his rear end, but just a real nice stud colt. Then the filly foal down here on the other side of Isabel was one of our last babies this year, and so she's staying home for the front part of the show season, but it looks to be that she's going to have the same hair quality as her big brother at the other end, but look how thick that body is. I mean, Isabel always puts one that's got deep barrels and nice rumps on them. This filly has got a real nice hind quarter and real good shoulder. We talked about earlier today, we talked about harness and how a collar should fit on a horse. That shoulder right there was made for a collar, and she will definitely be a flashy show horse. But this is Isabel and 2 of her offspring. Okay, this is Rockabilly. We call her BB. BB is a mare that 2S purchased from Roger Leclerc in Canada. She has actually turned into one of the very best brood mares that 2S has. Everything that she produced ends up in the show ring, and BB has actually been in our hitch of mares before and shown a little bit in halter. She is a sound mare. She's got the nice barrel on her and got a nice hindquarter. She's got a long enough neck that she looks good, got the right shoulder on her. Her mother, it was a very good hitch mare, and she produces a hitchy type foals, and it's something that if you're going to have draft horses, you have to have something that wears harness, and BB seems to be putting those kind of things on the ground for us. Right beside her is a 2-year-old mare off of BB and Shay that we didn't show as a yearling, but we took her out last year as a yearling. We didn't show her as a weanling. Last year as a yearling, she was All-American, and she won her class at the national show, won several first place ribbons for us. Real tall mare. She's probably at least 17.3 hands tall as a 2-year-old, and she could easily go as 18 hands. She'll be probably taller than that when she finishes out. But a real nice, gentle mare. She's just friendly. She loves to be close to you. She's got real nice bottoms on her. One of the things is you're showing halter these draft horses. You know, it kind of starts with the foundation, and the foundation starts with the feet. So you got to have a nice broad heel to support a big shoe, a work shoe, or a show Scotch bottom shoe. And this mare has that, and you got to have a thick sole to that foot to keep that piece of iron on. Then from there, when you're looking at a show animal, you want some nice hair. And you can tell that looking at her front feet there, you see no hoof head because she has hair that goes all the way to the ground. And on a show horse, you need that hair covering those hoof heads. She's got a nice long cannon bone. She's got decent looking hocks. She has a little heavier hock than that year, maybe more in her curb area. She had supporting a little more curb bone on her. But we got to remember that she's an 18-hand horse, and she needs a little bit of bone in those joints to support the body she's going to have. She's definitely going to weigh a ton or more, as big as she is. So she needs those hocks and the bone in those hocks to support her weight. She's got a nice straight top line, nice long neck. She actually is thicker than you would think she would be, being a 2-year-old horse and being that tall. You would think that she would be even thinner than she is, because her growth has been so rapid in such a short period of time. But she's a real nice moving mare. When we get done talking about this foal on the end, I'll have Jake move her down and back for us so we can see what a halter horse does. Here on the end is Rockabilly's foal from this year. Her name is Abby, and when I think about a weanling filly and what I'm looking for in a weanling filly, this filly has just about everything you want. She's got a nice size foot on her. She's a little over 4 months old. She's already got the hair. She's got nice long cannon bones, a nice sweet hock. She's got nice rump on her. She's got width around her barrel. Her neck is the right length. She got a decent neck on her, and that slope of shoulder that we keep talking about in a draft horse, she possesses. She possesses a shoulder that's going to support a collar that's going to make this a very hitchy mare. So when we talk about Rockabilly and her offspring, we're talking about someone that produces hitch horses. If you get back and look at this filly, you see that she's got a lot of leg under her, and all of the offspring off of this mare is 17.3 to 18 hands tall, and there's no reason to believe that this filly won't be that tall also. But what a nice line. Always has a dark bay horse, maybe a little bit of white on the barrel, but nice full blaze, plenty of hair, plenty of hoof wall, plenty of ankle, and just a good broodmare, and one that we should definitely highlight today. Thank you. Okay, this is this 2-year-old mare. When a horse goes away from you, you like to have them hind hocks nice and close together, like little pistons going back and forth, nice and close together, and some lift to them. And then when they're coming back from you, you go down and make a circle, and when they're coming back to you, you're looking for lift in those knees. And a mare with white knees like that makes them look like they got a little more lift to them. So you want to go straight away and straight back, and when you set a horse up, a draft horse up, a Clydesdale anyway, you want those front legs square underneath them. And then the hind legs, you like to have those hocks touching each other and straight back, straight down from there, down to their feet. If you zero in on those hind feet, you'll see the inside of those feet are almost straight up and down, and there's a flare on the outside. And that actually causes those hind hocks to come together. And when they go away from you, it makes them nice and tight and gives you a lot of action behind. Now, if you sneak around the side of the horse here, I want to show the back end there. You want a nice set to their hocks. You want those hocks, the legs to come in and out and have a nice set to them. And when they have that nice close set to their back legs, when they travel, when they're in harness, there's a lot of action in the back end. So that's what we kind of look for. We want the head to be nice and high. Stick that neck out. You want a nice long neck, and like to have those ears looking forward. And this mare is a pretty soft mare to handle, and she's a good halter horse. Go ahead and take her away, Jake, and have her trot. Zero in on those hind hocks. You want those hind hocks. Nice and close, and when she's trotting, look how close they are together. Just the way you want them. Just the way you want them. It's a real nice mare.
Well, there were two major stallions in the Clydesdale breed for years and years. They bred into their 20s, and they were it was a sensation breeding and a perfection breeding. And we really found that we liked the body design of those animals, and they really were more of the modern type. They weren't the Scottish type, which is the traditional, a broader, shorter, possible stockier horse. Mine are a modern, more modern type, taller, a little leaner, not so broad in the beam. And I really liked those horses when we went to the national show that year. And so we did start buying all the perfection and sensation brood mares that we could. And I have 24 now. Those two stallions have since died. And so we really are trying to keep those strains pure. Spreading Clydes across Texas is another goal that we have. They really do well in the South. People think that they need cold weather, that they need the Scottish rains and all of those to keep their feet soft. And they really acclimate very well. We have brought some from Scotland and from Canada, and they still acclimate well here. We drive early in the mornings as opposed to mid-afternoon, so we do take advantage of our cooler weather. But they do well. And we've sold a lot of them here, and people are happy, so we're excited about the breed in Texas. We are a breeding farm, but we feel like because they are a draft horse, we need to train them in all ways. And as soon as they're 2, we start working with them in harness. That's what they were bred to do, to pull. They were the trucks of the city. With their feathers, they're not so much in the fields like the Belgians and Percherons sometimes, but they were the trucks.
This is a 2-year-old mare that we're getting ready for the National Clydesdale show to be in a futurity cart class. What we do with this rig is we basically train these young horses to pull It has some resistance, so it works them a bit. All of our halter horses, I use this to muscle them up. And basically what we want them to do is go and step up when we talk to them. We want them to be able to turn left and right. We want to be able to stop and stand and just do all the commands that we give them. Obviously, we're not going to be backing in this thing because that would cause them to sit right on your lap. But it really teaches them a lot, pulling and the tugs, hitting their legs for the first time, and making these horses pay attention to our voice commands. A lot of times when you're in the show ring, you don't dare use the whip, so you just use a whip as encouragement. But when you talk to them, see their ears are going back and forth. She's listening for his commands and looking ahead and listening ahead also. So it's just a good starting tool for young horses, but it's also a good tool that we use for aged horses to put muscle on them to get them ready for a halter class. The bit rig holds their head up in the air, and that's getting them ready for harness, ready for the show harness. So when we put it on, it's not something new and different to them. The actual bridle that we're using right here is exactly like the bridle that we use in the show harness.
So it's not just breeding. We feel like when we sell an animal, you know, she's trained or he's trained to do everything a draft horse should do. He's been line driven. He's, depending on his age, hitched singly and with a team. So they don't just show in a line class and look pretty. We feel like they really are being trained to do what they're bred to do, and that's part of our goal. The last 5 years we have that I have shown, we've won Grand Champion 4 times at the National Show. With 2 horses. Each horse has won it 2 years in a row. One of those, the first 2 years, was Flower Girl. And she also was the Breyer model, the collectible plastic models that so many people collect. And she was the Clydesdale Mare model that year. And I won Best American Bred with her, and I won the August Bush Award with her. And then she was National Grand Champion 2 years in a row. And then Jacqueline is another mare that I had that won 2 years in a row, and she also was reserve junior. No, she was the junior champion at the World Show. So those have been my 2 plums so far since '97. They are the most gratifying animals. I am not a horseman. We had horses when my children were at home on another range, and we did ride, but and they were fun, but Clydesdales are so emotionally rewarding. I mean, they're responsive, they're lovable, they're big. You have to be careful, and we do discipline them, and I have an excellent staff that we handle them from day one, so they respect our space. But they have just an ideal temperament to respond to children and adults. People think they eat just tons and they couldn't possibly afford them. But they have a very low metabolism, and as a result, they really don't eat too much more than a light horse. And they're just marvelous to have as a responsive friend. We are going to start an AI program in January with our 3 existing stallions, and so we want everybody to watch for those stallions and contact us that way for sure. But the barn doors are always open, and we do love company. It's nice if we know you're coming, so we can give you lots of dedicated time. But both barns are full of horses, and we'll have someone there to show you through. So we would love to have you.